I'm Tammy Bingham. I'm the Center Director here at Brain Balance of St. George, Utah, and I'm here with Ginger Healy, and she's here today to share some of her story about her boys who have just finished and graduating today from their Brain Balance program. They came for basically 6 months. They've been here working really hard, and whole family working really hard on the program, but have seen some great changes. So we're just going to kind of do some question and answer and see what changes that they've seen as a family. So I guess first tell me, Ginger, how did you find out about the program in the first place?
I was searching online for any help possible. We were in a crisis. There was no other way to describe it. My son Alec, that's 10, that has Asperger's, had steadily decreased in his functioning and behavior. He'd stopped going to school. He was becoming, he was using self-loathing statements, and he was hurting himself. And I couldn't take it anymore and got on the phone, got on the websites of different therapies, and just was searching and came across Brain Balance of St. George and called and talked to you for a long time. Wow. And cried and cried. And at the end of our conversation, I felt like this was the answer for our family.
Yeah. Well, and I think that from what we've seen, and I think what you've seen, it has really been the answer. So tell me, you talked about Alec, you also have Collin. Tell me specifically with Alec first, you kind of mentioned a few things. What were you seeing specifically on a day-to-day basis? What kind of things were you and were he struggling with?
Yeah, Alec was at his worst, hurting himself, banging his head against the floor, rocking his head against the walls, and just talking really bad about himself. He just hated himself, and he wouldn't go to school, and crying all the time, tantrums, and just not functioning. My happy, sweet boy was slowly, I felt, disappearing on me. And so he just wasn't able to go to school and function.
Yeah. And how old was he when he started?
10. He's almost 11.
That's what I thought. So at 10 years old, you know, and as far as, so what was causing him to be so down on himself? I mean, because he's a smart kid, you know, he doesn't have really academic struggles per se.
No, extremely smart. He was doing 12th grade science in his class. But he just was unhappy, and he was physically sick all the time. He had problems in the bathroom every day, and he wasn't happy. He couldn't tell me why. I kept saying, what can I do? What's going on? Tell me what to do. And he just would look at me like, I don't know, you know. So I didn't know. He had the diagnosis of Asperger's, but I didn't know what that meant for him as far as what was going on and how to, you know, where to go from here.
Right.
So we were stuck.
Yeah, and that's what we see with so many families, and my own children, you know, why I got into this Brain Balance program as well, is that you don't really get answers. You get kind of, you know, these are the symptoms your child is having, and this is a name for that, whether it's, you know, ADHD or Asperger's or dyslexia or anything. Sometimes people don't have a name for it. They just know my child's struggling with this or that, but they don't get answers as to, okay, well, what's causing that to happen, and how do we change it? And that's really what the Brain Balance program gave me, and to all these other families, that really says, hey, this is why, you know, they're having these struggles, and this is why they feel
once
that
you
way.
explained that to me very concretely and clearly, it was like, it made sense. It made complete sense, and it made Alec, I looked at him a different way. I always hurt for him, but I saw him through different eyes, and finally with hope of, okay, let's do this. I know what to do now. You know, let's work with this program.
Yeah. Well, it does, and you see where he was, you know, 10 years old, but when we first did his assessment, there was little areas of the brain that are 4 years old, and things like that. So it makes so much sense as to why they could be so smart, yet maybe make dumb decisions or emotionally not be at their age.
Yeah, he just couldn't control himself.
And so then they get in trouble, and then they're frustrated because they're really not trying to do it.
No, and he was innocent in his desires, but he literally could not control his behaviors and his impulses.
So tell me then, what happened during and after? I mean, you guys are just finishing, but how have those things changed, and what specifically have you seen over the last 6 months in Alec?
Well, immediately with Alec, we saw some big changes. He very quickly stopped the hurting himself, banging his head, hitting himself. Those pretty much stopped very quickly. The other things stopped slowly, but they stopped. And also very quickly his skin improved. This was what was shocking to me. He had horrible eczema and dark circles under his eyes and red patches on his eyes, and problems in the bathroom, like I had mentioned. That was an immediate cease also, which was shocking, because we changed his diet and took out the things that he was living off of, milk and dairy and gluten and eggs. Those 3 things, that was all he was eating, and we removed those and saw immediate results in the positive. And then also, all the things that I talked about as far as the, tantrums, those gradually went away. It became very short in duration, and there just wasn't as many where it was constant. Now it's just every once in a while.
Right.
And when he does have a tantrum, it's over quickly.
Right.
Where before he would hold that grudge for days.
Yeah.
He would forget about it as quickly. It came and went very quickly, which was so exciting to see. But the biggest change for him, but that really affected me, was he's happier.
Yeah.
He is a happy child. He finds joy. And that seems pretty simple for a child to find joy, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
And he does now. He laughs at jokes.
Yeah.
He gets jokes. He understands jokes. He laughs. He's just happier and more full of joy and self-confidence.
Yeah.
Those self-loathing statements are gone, and I'm so stupid and I hate myself. He doesn't say that anymore. He's proud of himself and his accomplishments, and it's
our
amazing.
kids are missing actual skills. Like when we looked at Alec, the left side of his brain overall was, doing okay, and like you said, above grade level in some of this intellectual things. He was good with letters and numbers and had some OCD type tendencies, right?
Yes,
and
he did.
things like that, because the left brain likes sameness. It doesn't want change.
No change.
And so,
structure, routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the right brain really controls those social things and the more emotional. And our big muscle things. Most of your kids, I know Alec wasn't
extremely uncoordinated, very clumsy, would trip and fall walking across a flat surface. He knocked his 2 front teeth out, just transitioning from linoleum to carpet.
Yeah.
Just clumsy, and you mentioned social. That was another huge thing for him. He didn't have friends, and he didn't get social cues or body language. He just didn't recognize it, and he didn't even seem to miss out that he didn't have friends.
Right, they don't really even know
it
what
didn't
it's
register.
about. Yeah.
But now, we've got these boys coming to the door knocking, can Alec play? And he gets all excited, and they go outside and they ride scooters and bikes. One day, he just started riding a bike.
Yeah.
He'd never touched a bike before in his life. Yeah. We'd had the bike sitting there, but he picked it up and he rode it.
Yeah.
And then the scooter, just physical activity, he just...
Right, because that right brain is really those big muscles and
whole
the physical activity.
Kid.
And if you don't have those skills, why are you going to do them?
Yeah.
You're going to avoid them and do what he did, which was what mine did.
Sat in front of the TV and the computer for
Legos,
hours.
Right?
Legos,
and they
zoned
do
out.
Sedentary things because those are easy and they're good at them. And they're not good at sports and they're missing actual skills like hand-eye coordination, things like that. Then why would they want to go do it? They don't. And so...
And I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together, though, that it was all connected. He would just lay there like a bump on a log. He couldn't even hold his head up or his neck up. And I'd find him at school laying on the desk. And then he'd come and he'd lay on me and he'd just and now, I don't know, he's able to ride a bike.
Well, that's the thing is, it seems like in such a short period, all of a sudden you have the same kid. They're still funny and they're still smart. but they're now able to use all of that, and they're able to socialize with their peers. And he's going to school now and not whining about that.
He's never missed a day of school.
Yeah,
this year.
That's awesome. And his reading, I know he used to hate it.
Yes.
Right, and he
Now he wants to read all the time. And I'm like, again.
Well, I remember one of the stories. I mean, and I tell people all the time because it's just such a great example of how when our kids live with us, sometimes we don't notice all those things. And so you came in once and you were late and you were like, I am so sorry. I couldn't get Alec out of the car. He would not stop. He wouldn't put his book down. And so now we're late and I'm so sorry. And I looked at you and I said, does Alec like to read? And you said, no, he hates it. And that's how it was. But you don't even realize sometimes that, naturally because his eyes are now moving the way they're supposed to. He has those basic movements that it's not so hard for him. So he'll go ahead and pick up the book and read.
It's opened up a whole new world for him.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we see as parents through the program that just, they may seem small to other people, but they're huge to us when you have this 10-year-old, like you said, that's never ridden a bike, that hasn't had friends, that hasn't been able to do these basic things. It's life-changing for them and for the whole family. So
yeah, we were all walking on eggshells. Don't make him mad, don't make him upset, because it's, you know.
It affects the whole family and the little siblings and all that, you know. So.
Yeah, and nothing we were doing was working. We had tried everything, and so it had affected the whole family. I was a mess.
Yeah, I know, I've been there. So tell me then about Collin. Collin's older, he's now how old?
Collin's 14.
14. Was he 13 when he started? I thought he was, but anyway.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Okay.
Collin was adopted at age 5 from Romania, so he had kind of lived his life in a crib and staring at a wall. So we knew from the day that we got Collin that he would have struggles, and we didn't know exactly what they would be, but we were always a little worried about him. But he always struggled academically because his focus and attention, it was impossible for him to stay on task. And he was always really worried, full anxiety all the time, worried what people thought of him, worried, you know, he also couldn't stay on task and focus because anything that he would hear or see, he was off on and worried about being left out. So he just was in this constant hyper state of worrying and not being on task and not being focused. So that's academically impossible to overcome that.
To do that, you know.
And you know, we would try really hard. We would spend hours each night on homework, and he would have that spelling test down and ready to go, and then he'd get to school the next morning, nothing. Short-term memory, forget about it, you know. So focus, attention, memory, anxiety, he just and self-confidence because of that and everything else. He was just always nervous and worried. He also was immature. He just didn't function socially at the same level as his peers. He didn't pick up on social cues, and he didn't, you know, his friends were adults. He just couldn't relate peer to peer.
Yeah, a lot of our kids have that, regardless if it's left or right area of the brain that is weaker. Our kids sometimes will be better with kids younger.
Yes.
Or older.
Yes.
But they're same age, they have a hard time connecting.
It's really great with little kids and really great with adults.
Yeah. But that doesn't work when they're in school and they're supposed to be socializing, and then they
I
don't feel
love
like they fit
that
in.
about him, that he can relate to other people, but he didn't ever have friends coming over or calling either.
Right.